Hello, welcome to the Special Report, your news reviews program about geek gaming culture on the internet. Coming up in the show today, a bit of a update to what's been happening with Brad Jones, otherwise known as the Cinema Snob, as he posts a health update, and we hope he's doing well and he gets good care of himself. We'll talk about the situation involving the Bellas and that video that resurfaced in which they made a really off-color joke about Chyna alongside late comedian legend Joan Rivers that got the attention of a lot of people. And talking about getting the attention of a lot of people, the whole Sasha Banks liking some Instagram posts that have to do with the major health issue that's going on in the world right now and what some woke skulls are trying to do to her in the wake of it. My name is JD Shadow. All of this and the OCRemix Track of the day will start right about now. First things first, and this is going to be the first story because I want to touch upon this really quickly. In case you are not aware, Brad Jones, the Cinema Snob, as of this particular recording, still follows me on Twitter. I've been hoping and praying that it stays that way. However, he recently posted a health update on his YouTube channel. I want to touch upon this really quickly and report on it because I have covered the whole change of channel situation that occurred some years ago in 2018 and then 2019 when it blew up again. And Brad Jones was at the center of a lot of what was going on there because he decided that he was going to actually call out the people who were being vitriolic about it and people who were downright being untruthful and manipulative about it. Anyway, I go on all day about that. The post that came up today, as of recording this video, says, quote, health update. Hey everyone, been having some major health issues in the last month. It's not COVID. Due to some symptoms, medication, and the testing in the next month, I've got to take a little bit of a break from the main show, The Cinema Snob, unless the doctor says that watching Hellraiser movies is the exact medicine I need, which seems painful. But we'll still be doing midnight screenings, Brad tries, and the smaller shows like that. We've got plenty of those coming this week. And I'm still working on the home improvement video. I've just got to lighten my workload a little bit and relax. Thank you so much, everyone. Much love. And you see a picture of him getting wired like AT&T. This is just a reminder to everyone that is working either in the public scene on YouTube or on the mainstream media side or just working on your daily job. You have to take care of yourself. You have to administer some self-care every once in a while or else you're going to go absolutely insane and you're just going to go over the edge. This channel, and I would hope all of my fans and his fans wish him a speedy recovery. Get well soon, dude. And we hope to see you in all full capacity. Just make sure you're taking care of yourself as well. Your health is way more important than any YouTube video or any kind of work. Now to some more spicy content as it pertains to a few WWE stories, because once again we have to not only call out that the WWE is not completely awful and not the devil, but we have to call out a few of the YouTube wrestling channels because they joined in on what happened with the Bella Twins recently. In case you're not aware of what happened a couple of days ago on Sunday, someone decided to dig up a old clip of the E-Show Fashion Police from 2013. Now remember, this is not exactly a underground video that they pulled up. This was on a national televised show. So it might have not been very hard to find this and not very hard to know that something like this had even happened. However, we'll get to that here in just a second, why did this get brought up in the first place. However, this featured the Bella Twins alongside the legendary comedian Joan Rivers. We all know that she passed on in 2014, but she had been involved in several projects. One of the ones I know most of is the 80s version of Hollywood Squares alongside host John Davison. But in the clip, according to NoDQ.com, picture was shown of Chyna and Nikki commenting on how we don't know if it's a man or woman, and then Rivers took the photo and joked about how Chyna's vagina has a penis. Now, for those people who are unaware, Joan Laura Chyna had sadly passed on in 2016, one of what amassed to a ton of people who passed on in 2016, and this was back in 2013, well before her passing. However, this got a lot of people up in arms, and they wanted for the Bella Twins to pay for what they were doing in 2013. And keep in mind, I'm not quite sure if they were playing heels at that point in time or not. I'm not quite sure where they were on the spectrum at that point in WWE history. I do know that they're faces now, I believe. So I was unsure if this was a within kayfabe type of thing, if this was something that was breaking kayfabe. However, Bella Twins have been known for getting a lot of criticism about their in-ring work and about their characters and about their ability within the ring to be able to perform to expectations. And we all know how some wrestling fans are. It doesn't matter how much you try to perform to the best of your abilities and try to improve your abilities. Some people always look at what you did beforehand, and they will always be unwilling to forgive somebody for what they did. Just look at how they treated Mike Adamle when he made that one mistake at Royal Rumble 2008. They were on him like white on rice, and I did not understand that. And it happens all the time. Some wrestling fans got to let some things go. And of course, Adamle is now with, I don't know what stage of dementia it is, I think it's 4th stage dementia. So WWE should have probably have not put him in that sort of situation. However, the fans didn't exactly help in that regard. And that is something that, again, wrestling fans have been known to do. I'm not saying every wrestling fan is a devil, but there are some rather toxic fans out there. And keep in mind that we're in an age where cancel culture seems to have this sort of weird thing where nothing seems to slow it down, nothing seems to phase it. The more you try to call it out, and the more you try to say, hey, we should be using that, the more people are encouraged to use it. It's like they're trying to taunt them by canceling people. That is a taunt. That is a way to get people to be silenced. However, the official Chyna Twitter account, which has been maintained by loved ones of hers, and I'm not quite sure who those loved ones are, said, quote, that video from the Bella Twins is disrespectful. Chyna would have been hurt by this, but we will just show love. I removed the previous tweet as they don't need to receive so much hate. I just hope they are sorry. We will run this page and campaign with light, not hate. And of course, a few YouTubers did run on this. I will get to that in just a second because I want to get to the apology because I believe that no one's brought this one up yet. Nikki and Brie actually posted an apology when this came out, saying, quote, I want to sincerely apologize for a comment I made over 8 years ago on Fashion Police. I am sorry and embarrassed by my 29-year-old self who offended Chyna and in turn hurt her family and others. I wish I could take it back. Please learn from me. It's not worth hurting someone's feelings for a meaningless laugh. Chyna will always be remembered as an icon and pioneer who helped create the opportunities for women in wrestling that exist today. Thank you, Chyna. Signed, Nikki Bella. Then Chyna's official Twitter account, again, I'm not quite sure which part of her family is actually maintaining the Twitter account, but they posted, quote, Nikki has apologized on her page and in private. It was sincere. Please stop attacking her. Her apology has been passed on to the family also. She has grown as a person. There is no hate or ill will. Please build each other up, not tear down. Chyna believed in forgiveness. Probably if she's seen what's been going on lately in the form of cancel culture and woke scolds, she would be turning over in her grave right now. And if she's seen what has been going on this situation, she would probably be turning over in her grave as well. Because here's the bigger picture here, and I do want to address this. I want to address this first because I want to also go into how some people covered this story. First things first, what prompted the unearthing of this video in the first place? There's been a really weird trend that's been going on where all of a sudden something gets popped out of nowhere and someone's career, someone's livelihood needs to be put on the line because of something they said back 10 or 20 or 30 years ago, or in this case 8 years ago. And it seems like a lot of times these things are brought up in a vacuum, like someone just stumbled upon it or just brought it up out of nowhere. I'm starting to see a pattern. I mean, we've been seeing this happen with the Jimmy Dore versus TYT feud that's been going on. Or about Scott Cawthorn, who had not done anything to anybody, yet somebody felt the need in order to divulge his donation patterns to us as if we needed to know anything about those. Like they were some sort of scandalous thing that we had to know about right then and there, that they just stumbled upon. And now we get this that just came out of nowhere. We get this whole situation involving the Bellas, and I have to wonder, what brought this on? Who felt it was necessary in order to dig this up to begin with? Why did they feel like we needed to know about this? Or that this was some sort of new news? Remember, this was a clip that was from a nationally televised program. It wasn't as if it was some sort of big secret that this happened. Maybe to some people who never saw the show before, but I don't think it would be that hard to find it, or be that hard to find a VOD of it, or something of the sorts. So what was the need in order to date this back up to try to cancel the Bellas? Is it because they didn't like their in-ring ability or what have you? Or is it because they said something pro WWE? That's what I'm wondering. That's what I'm trying to get out of this, is what brought this on in the first place. I don't think this is done. I don't think this is done on that front. Maybe it's done in the realms of people apologizing and people forgiving. But in the terms of what brought this on, why was this a thing that we needed to have a breaking news story about? Other than get page clicks over a scandalous story that wasn't really scandalous to begin with. Should she have said that? No. Was it something that was going to break her because she had said it a long time ago, when you know that people have grown in 8 years' time? Of course. We shouldn't have that black cloud hanging over our heads, as if we never change our ways in our lives. And I don't know what it's going to take for some people to get that to click, that cancel culture is a detriment, and you shouldn't use it just to spite the people who are trying to call it out. You shouldn't use it as a weapon. And no, I don't know if they said anything good about the WWE, but I feel as though that would be the best guess, because let's keep this in mind, that WWE has not had the best PR in recent years. The stuff with the contracted workers and stuff with how Vince McMahon is handling talent right now. It's just going on and on and on. And they could really use some people who could defend them, who really could say, hey, it's not as bad as it seems. However, we have seen that people like Seth Rollins, people like Randy Orton, and I think Alexa Bliss has gotten it as well. Anytime they have defended the WWE, they have either gotten viciously attacked or been told that it's the WWE that's telling them to say it, as if there would be no legitimate reason for anybody to ever defend the company. And I get it. WWE is not above criticism, and you can criticize them for a lot of things. But perhaps the people who are working there and the people who like working there actually do like working there. Maybe there is a reason that Seth Rollins or Randy Orton or Alexa Bliss are saying that they like working there. Maybe because they are having fun. Maybe they are having a good time there. And maybe it's not just because they're at the top of the mountain and they shouldn't be attacked like people are doing to them. But if this is a pattern, if this is something that Nikki decided to do to defend the WWE, and in the wake of that, some person decided, hey, I'm going to try to dig up something that will get some easy points for me and some easy canceling for Nikki because of what I'm going to invoke in all of this, which is to stroke the sensitivities of the pride communities in this one, because you know how they're going to react to stuff like this, even if it's 8 years old, and you're going to make sure that it's on an easy target. Apparently, the family and friends of Chyna should have been a little bit taken aback by the amount of vitriol that the Bellas were getting. And it doesn't help that some people on YouTube will not call that part of it out. Why is WrestleMania talking about this as if there was never any apology there, or that they accepted the apology? Why is Ringside News, a outlet who is known to have a lot of woke scold political viewpoints and a lot of inaccuracies with their reporting of news, why did they not post the apology that the Twitter account of Chyna, that's maintained by probably some of her family members, posted there? I mean, I know Brian Zane needs to be called out for his woke scoldness. He's been wanting to get the Warrior canceled for years now, even though he's been long since forgiven. But to see WrestleMania going toward this point of woke scoldness, that's a little bit odd, and I'm not quite sure why no one in the YouTube wrestling community is saying that perhaps this should not be happening. And no, calling out cancel culture does not make you right-wing. It does not make you a Fox News Republican. It doesn't make you anything of the sort, because we have seen progressives call out cancel culture as well. We have seen left-wing people call it out as well. So don't think it's just a right-wing or just Fox News that is calling it out, because I really wish that they wouldn't try to use that as a way to garner ratings, because it's not going to work, Fox. You'll whining about the mainstream media, you are the mainstream media. You're part of it. But yes, this should be a done story. However, I don't think it is, because I think there is another motive behind why this was even brought up in the first damn place. And this wouldn't be so much of an issue, and it wouldn't be so much of a problem if the people who are using cancel culture unabashedly and these woke skulls on Twitter or social media would let go of their ego and shut up and stop typing for one goddamn second. Cancel culture not letting up for one measly little second and letting their ego go for a moment and just be quiet and just hear people out. Let's get to the Sasha Banks quote-unquote anti-something story. Now, before I go any further, I do want to preface this by stating that I did this past Saturday get my first dose of the Pfizer vaccine. So, for those people who are thinking that I would be anti-vax or I would be against vaccines because of what I want to say about this story, yeah, you know what you're gonna have to do. Just be quiet. But in any case, Sasha Banks, who is a WWE superstar and was a former WWE Women's Champion a couple of times over, and is now in the Star Wars Mandalorian Season 2. You know, the same one that Gina Carano got unceremoniously fired for something that they spun and thought that she said something when she was saying something that they were actually doing right this second. Funny how that works out, that they are not self-aware. Now apparently she has liked a tweet from a so-called anti-vaxxer. The person in question is Anna's Insights, and this is the tweet that got everybody going. Well, probably a tweet because it does say it's on Instagram. However, it does seem like it's kind of both. And this is what it's saying, quote, "My face when the government tells me I can do something again that I never stopped doing." Now, before we go any further, I do want to specify what this is talking about. Recently, it's saying that if you have been fully vaccinated, you can go back to doing festivals, you can go doing concerts, you go to a sports game without the worry of having COVID wreck your life, basically. However, if you're not fully vaccinated, then they're going to treat you like a second-rate person, like a subhuman. Now, keep in mind that COVID is definitely real, it's definitely dangerous, it's definitely something that you have to take seriously, but at the same time, taking it seriously also means that you question the validity of some things that are being told to you. And that doesn't mean to believe the stuff about magnets or 5G or something like that. Those are crazy conspiracy theories. However, the idea that these things are not FDA approved, which are not, and I can prove that by the facts sheet that I got when I got my first dose of the vaccine, and I'll show that here in just a moment. The idea that even if you're fully vaccinated, now you gotta still be wearing a mask because of the new Delta variant that is the latest in the whole round of variants we've been hearing about, that just fall off the face of the earth after about a couple of weeks of us hearing about that's the next big thing that we need to worry about. And of course, this goes around are all the cases of COVID death really related to COVID in any way, and the idea of if we still have to wear a mask, does that mean the vaccines are actually working or not? These breakthrough cases, why are people being told to get the vaccine and then being told that, hey, it's not going to change anything? There's a lot of confusion that people are getting right now. There's a lot of back and forth that people keep hearing and they want their questions answered, but the second they ask the questions, they get the type of tweet that somebody decided to do in the wake of this news. Because Anna's Insights actually goes on with her post, I believe is a female, goes on and talks about they're not going to wear a mask because they're toxic and they decrease oxygen supply. There have been some cases of that. And for those people who are not knee-jerking and actually going off the rails and actually read what is said here, these are actually sort of reasonable things to ask. Now, you probably should do what the mandates and stuff are telling you to do. If someone's telling you, hey, wear a mask when you're into our establishment, then you probably should. However, that doesn't mean you should not be allowed to question whether or not they are working, whether or not the government should mandate these, whether or not there should be lockdowns. Believing that COVID is real does not mean that you agree that all of these mitigation factors are necessary or are working. There's a difference between being a COVID denier and being skeptical of these things actually working to curb the virus in any sort of way. Just remember, we are living in the world where Facebook banned the talk of COVID being from a lab leak until Joe Biden said that, hey, it could have been from a lab leak. All of a sudden, Facebook said it was okay, which was something that people have been talking about Facebook for about a year now. And just as a small reminder, Facebook does own Instagram. Just to put that out there before you try to say that Instagram and Facebook are separate things. Now, some people might go a little too far with it. Maybe some people are actively being COVID deniers, but I don't think those account for the entirety of people who are skeptical about what their government is actually trying to do. And of course, the media is playing into the panic porn and is selling it to people who don't know any better or won't do any research. There are a lot of reasons why some people would ask questions, and they are perfectly fine in doing so. However, when this story came out, when the Sasha Banks liking a post on Twitter and on Instagram, which, although I do agree it goes a little bit too far and a little bit too far into the rabbit hole, it still seems as though it might make a little bit of sense as to if this was a person who might have had a head on straight a little bit more, would they be accepted a little bit more? Maybe not, because as always, the Wolf's Gold wrestling community, especially on r/square circle, there's Reddit again, have decided to lay the groundwork for a cancel campaign. Because one person decided to post this tweet saying, "Who cares about her politics? She's just asking questions. We don't know if she's actually believing in this. Got your top 3 excuses out of the way for you, stands. Time to come up with something new." Saying that the fans of Sasha Banks are going to come out in droves to try to defend her, which Vince Russo actually did in a tweet. I can debunk all 3 of these right here. Now, who cares about her politics? How do you know her politics actually are? You can be left wing and still be against lockdowns, still be against some of the mitigation factors that the government is trying to mandate, because there is a such thing called r/lockdown critical left, which I have promoted before on this channel. She's just asking questions. Ain't that something called peer reviewing? Aren't all scientific studies peer reviewed? That doesn't make any bit of sense. And is our asking questions trying to get to the truth? Even if we end up finding out that these vaccines are safe, and for many people they are, wouldn't it be a good thing that we're trying to be skeptical? We're trying to get to the truth. Isn't that what peer reviewing is asking questions about a scientific study? And we don't know if she actually believes this. It depends on what you think she believes, what you think she read into, what you read into by viewing those exact same Instagram posts. Because I can assure you that what you think is anti-vax right now is not what we read as anti-vax. Because right now, you're believing that this one vaccine about COVID is the absolute only vaccine that has ever been administered in all time. Suddenly, it doesn't matter if we approve or are supportive of vaccines against measles or polio or smallpox or the flu. It doesn't matter. Why is it that if it's every other vaccine we are supportive of, but it's this one vaccine we're critical of or we're skeptical about, that makes us anti-vax? That doesn't make any damn bit of sense. Where are you equating one with the other? Where are you conflating these two ideas? And it's not that, oh, we're not going to take it. It's that we want to make sure that these are safe. We want to make sure that if we take it, it is going to work. It's going to protect us. And I can tell you right now, from the fact sheet that I got when I went to get the vaccine this past Saturday, they gave me a fact sheet, and you can go and view it. The link will be in the description below this video on the very first page of this fact sheet. And this is from Pfizer, the very people who are making the vaccine, the very first vaccine that came out. You know, the one that had to be in cold storage when it got distributed to all of these places. You can see it on the very last paragraph of that page. The Pfizer BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine is an unapproved vaccine that may prevent COVID-19. There is no FDA-approved vaccine to prevent COVID-19. The FDA has authorized the emergency use of the Pfizer-BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine to prevent COVID-19 in individuals 12 years of age and older under an emergency use authorization. And on the last pages, it goes on to state that the United States FDA has made the Pfizer-BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine available under an emergency access mechanism called a EUA. The EUA is supported by a Secretary of Health and Human Services, or HHS, declaration that circumstances exist to justify the emergency use of drugs and biological products during the COVID-19 pandemic. The Pfizer-BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine has not undergone the same type of review as an FDA-approved or cleared product. FDA may issue an EUA when certain criteria are met, which includes that there are no adequate proved available alternatives. In addition, FDA decision is based on the totality of scientific evidence available showing that the product may be effective to prevent COVID-19 during the COVID-19 pandemic, and that the known and potential benefits of the product outweigh the known and potential risks of the products. All of these criteria must be met to allow for the product to be used in the treatment of patients during the COVID-19 pandemic. The EUA for the Pfizer-BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine is in effect for the duration of the COVID-19 EUA declaration, justifying emergency use of these products unless terminated or revoked, after which the products may no longer be used. So that might be a reason why a lot of people are a little bit skeptical about taking these types of vaccines. That is not saying that they are anti-vax though. And if you want to ask a question, why don't ask, why are you having trouble trying to get people to take the vaccine? Maybe instead of trying to shame people for asking a question, why don't you show them what I just showed them? Why don't you just say what's going on, that hey, we know these are not FDA approved, but it's going to be beneficial to you to take it because it's better than not taking anything at all. And not try to smear people and not try to use these kinds of scare tactics and these types of slimy tactics to get people into taking something that they are not comfortable in taking right now. Not saying that they won't take it at all or saying they wouldn't take any other medication or any other vaccine. It's just this one particular one that they have a bit of concern about, and it would be beneficial to you to actually answer these questions in a truthful manner, in a way that makes the person not feel ashamed that they asked the question, but rather assured that they are going to be safe in taking it and that the vaccine is actually going to work as intended. But this gets a lot worse because another Twitter user had seen some other things that Sasha had liked, but I'm wondering just what exactly this particular user is trying to do, because it doesn't seem like Sasha was liking any other posts from that particular user and doesn't seem to be following them. Yes, I did follow Sasha Banks in order to figure out whether or not she was actually following them, because it didn't seem like it was a legit thing and it was photoshopped, but it seems like she is liking some of these Instagram posts. But I wonder if it's just the interpretation and the manipulation that this particular user is trying to project in order to make it seem as though the user is saying one thing, and yes, the user is kind of out there in this sort of way, but that doesn't mean that they can't be right at some points, and didn't think that they would need to actually think about what they were viewing when they were actually seeing them, especially with the second one, which is talking about how 90% of the media is controlled by 6 corporations. That's not exactly that far from the truth if you come to think about it. If you think about the establishment and how things are skewed in order to support corporate donors and stuff like that. Something that progressives would be against. Actually, progressives are actually telling you, and some of the stuff that's on this person's Instagram account has to do with things that George Carlin has said, and he was one of the most profound comedians of all time. And would probably turn over his grave if he knew what he was seeing right now, or he would be seeing right now. I mean, we're talking about a group of people in the establishment that still want to try to think that the Wuhan lab theory is not something we should be talking about, even though the former director of the CDC actually admitted that it's something we should be looking at. Something that Jon Stewart on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, one of his friends, actually freaked out a lot of the establishment Democrats about when he went on that show and started to talk about the the Wuhan lab theory? Why have they tried to shut down Brett Weinstein or CJ Hopkins or the Right to Know Foundation? The latter is a non-profit organization that has investigated the situations involving how we cover the pandemic. Are these conspiracy theories too, or just because you don't agree with them? And keep in mind that this particular Twitter account has been all in about how they treat Sasha Banks and has repeatedly said that he's an AEW fan. So he already has that particular bias, I'm assuming as a male here because he has a male avatar. And finally, he seems to be one of the woke schools that we keep talking about on these videos time and time again. He does not believe that the Bella's apology was sincere, even though the family of Chyna had actually accepted it and thought it was sincere. Apparently this person does not agree with it, telling you just what this guy thinks. So keep that in mind there. All in all, I do believe that Sasha should be allowed to speak her mind, and just because you are having concerns about one particular vaccine does not make you an anti-vaxxer, does not make you a COVID denier. Please keep that in mind, and please let's stop going after one another about something that is health related. If you get a question, it is okay to answer it in a way that doesn't make them feel like they're a subhuman for asking the question. That's why we ask the question, so we can get the answer, so we can be a little bit more comfortable about taking stuff that we're going to put into our bodies. And we need to stop censoring people. We need to stop shaming people. We need to stop blocking people on Twitter or kicking people out of Discord just because they dare to ask these kinds of questions or to criticize the response or to be skeptical about these sort of issues. Yes, I am mispronouncing the word skeptical because speech impairment and weird sounding voice for the win. And to the people on the Woke Scold YouTube wrestling community, do us all a favor and to condemn the vitriol that these people do get when somebody tries to cancel them. And it's okay to debate the arguments. It's okay to debate somebody. It's okay to be critical of a person's position. It is not okay to attack the person instead of the argument. It is not okay to send someone death threats. It is not okay to send hate messages because you disagree with a person's position. And this person on Twitter and the people who are calling Sasha Banks out have not done that. They have not in any sort of way condemned the people who are sending vitriolic hate messages toward her on the back of this. This is not okay. It wouldn't be okay if someone sent one of your allies those kinds of messages. It is not okay if someone sends someone those messages because you disagree with their position. And at the very least, maybe people named Brian Zane or WrestleMania could do that damn much, because they sure as hell ain't looking out for the actual wrestling fan. And that's going to do it for this edition of the Special Report. Thanks as always for watching. If you liked what you see, please give it a like, share, and subscribe for more geek gaming culture. And be sure to stand independent media, because we all know the establishment ain't going to do the type of reporting that we are doing. That includes the mainstream media and the mainstream gaming media. And speaking of standing, let's stand the OCRemix track of the day. This one is from Zaz. And in order to just calm ourselves down and to take a breath, I'm going to share this remix called My Old Kakariko Home. The remix from the Ocarina of Time version of Kakariko Village, and the background that they use here and the chill instruments just make you just want to breathe in and out, in and out. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for the support. My name is JD Shadow, and that just happened.